I just feel so incredibly stuck when it comes to my style. You thinking that? So many women are. Let's talk about it today. Hello. I'm Kristen from Kristen Cain Style. I'm so glad that you are here. Welcome. If you have just found my channel, I am so glad. And if you've been here a while, I am so glad. Let's get to this. I am a style and mindset coach. If you're not familiar with me or you need to be reminded, and what that means is that I have all the tools. I know how to build a wardrobe. I know how to help you build a wardrobe. I know how to make outfits. I know how to teach you how to make outfits. And I know that that is not all of it. That getting dressed and looking and feeling amazing in your clothing has more to do with your mindset than it does with your actual clothing. And once I figured this out, it was like this giant light bulb aha moment in my career and in my work as a stylist, because I recognized why women were not getting long-lasting results. And it was because we weren't getting to the root of the problem. I wasn't clear that addressing the mindset was so vital a component, and now I am. So Style Therapy is my signature program. It is the way I work one-on-one with women to help them understand the limiting beliefs and the mindset obstacles that they are dealing with every single day. It is not your fault if getting dressed isn't easy and effortless. And if style isn't something that you feel is innate for you and you're not exactly sure what your style is or how to even cultivate it and how to put together a great outfit and leave the house looking and feeling amazing, nothing has gone wrong. You are not to blame. The thing that is getting in the way are the limiting beliefs. And so Style Therapy addresses that, and it helps you transform your relationship with your clothing and with getting dressed. And I love working with women in this way. I start with a 1-hour free consult call. So if Style Therapy is something that you are curious about and are interested in learning more about and think might be the right fit for you, the way we begin is you book a 1-hour consult call. It is a free Zoom call. I take you through an exercise that will help you get really clear on what exactly is going on in your closet, why you are not loving getting dressed and loving how you look and feel once you put your clothing on. And then we can decide, I will help you decide if Style Therapy is a good fit for you right now, and we'll go from there. So today, speaking of feeling stuck and limiting beliefs, we're going to talk about feeling stuck in your style. This is probably one of the words I hear most often from women when it comes to what they think they're struggling with or what they are struggling with regard to their wardrobe and getting dressed. And that is that they feel stuck. They feel stuck. They just can't move forward. They're not taking action. They're not getting any traction. They're not seeing the results that they want to see. They feel stuck. And I think that one of the most important things to point out here and to remember is that usually the stuckness comes from the fact that on some level, we know what to do. We have an idea of what could make a difference, what could get us the results that we want, and we're not taking action. And so then it just makes this sense of feeling stuck even more excruciating, because we kind of know what we should be doing and we're not doing it. And so then it just feels stuck because we're not where we want to be, but we're not getting any closer. We're not where we want to be and we're not getting any closer. And it just is this spiral and this situation that feels kind of inescapable. We feel stuck. So I want to read quickly just a little quote that my dear friend Sam Laura Brown, who is my perfectionist coach, shared a few months ago. And it really resonated with me. And it is exactly what seems to be the case in so many of my clients' closets and wardrobe situations. And that is, until your life reflects what you intellectually know, you don't really know it. Until your life reflects what you intellectually know, you don't really know it. It's the same as intellectually understanding how to ride a bike, but not actually ever having been on a bike. So you intellectually understand how to ride a bike, but you don't actually know how to ride a bike. You might intellectually know how to play the piano or the guitar, but until you actually take lessons and learn how to play the piano and the guitar and do the action that's required to make the sound, you don't actually know how to play the piano and the guitar. I have been queen of this in my life many, many times over. I love to accumulate information. I now understand that that is a perfectionist tendency, that is something that perfectionists do to protect their potential and to continue to hold back and procrastinate until they have just the right kernel of information that is going to make the transformation be complete and possibly a little bit easier and a little more effortless. And I am here to tell you that actually accumulating more and more knowledge really only exaggerates the stuck feeling, because the more things you know that you could be doing or should be doing, if you're going to should yourself, should be doing to improve your style or to elevate your style or to improve your wardrobe, and you're not taking action on those things that you know, the more frustrating it is and the more stuck you feel, because it's just this idea of you're revving the gas. You have the info, but you're not actually taking your foot off the brake, so you're not moving forward. Till your life reflects what you intellectually know, you don't really know it. So I would keep that in mind as you think of things that you know you could be doing, but you haven't actually taken action on them, because we fool ourselves into thinking, well, I know how to do that. I know how to use the gua sha that is in my cabinet in my bathroom. I know how to use the tongue scraper, but until I'm actually using those things every day, I'm not actually embodying someone who uses a gua sha and might get better skin and, have fewer lines as a result of toning up the skin with the gua sha. And I'm not seeing the health benefits of using a tongue scraper if it's actually just tucked in my drawer in my bathroom. So intellectually knowing something is not the same as actually knowing it. So it's important to note here that one of the biggest issues is that our brains actually prefer it when we're stuck. Our mind likes the routine. It is designed to like routine, which is why really quickly we automate things. And it makes it so that you might drive somewhere that you drive all the time, and you get there and you park in the parking lot and you think, I don't even remember driving here. Your brain likes automation. It is designed to conserve energy, and automation conserves energy. So if you have been dealing with the same struggle, the same stuckness for a long time, your brain is usually pretty happy about that. As much as there's one part of you that's super frustrated and overwhelmed and feeling like there are a lot of shoulds piling up and a lot of information and you're not taking action, and that is feeling not so great, the underlying part of your brain is like, yep, it's terrific that she's not taking any action, because I really like the way things are going over here. This groove that we're in, even though she's really uncomfortable in it, this groove feels safe, because our brain, as you've heard me say probably countless times, your brain's job is to keep you alive. And so your brain likes something that you're already doing that has been proven to be safe. And in this case, it might be just wearing the lazy go-tos, wearing clothing that isn't all that fabulous, because your brain says she's not going to get hurt this way. Nobody's going to make fun of her. Nobody's going to laugh at her. She's not going to spend more money than she should. She's not going to get rid of something she shouldn't get rid of. She's going to keep doing things the same way. That stuckness is perpetuated, and your brain is happy there. Your brain says, this is so cool because I don't have to worry. I'm on autopilot. There is this just repeated action of kind of wearing the same things. She might still be dabbling in watching YouTube videos or going and finding new people on Pinterest or new people on Instagram to be inspired by, but she's not actually taking any action. And your brain likes to reassure you that taking action would be dangerous because it likes to keep you stuck. So I realize that might seem just absurd, and yet scientifically, lots of folks who are studying this have recognized that this is what happens. Our brain likes that groove. It likes the repetition. It keeps you safe if you don't do anything different. So the stuckness is being supported by this fundamental primitive part of your brain that doesn't want you to change, because change is risky. So as a result, you stay stuck because that's the groove that you're in. And the part of you that really wants to elevate your style grows increasingly irritated because you keep learning more information and you have all the tools that you could possibly need to elevate your style, and you're still not doing it. So today I want to talk about this kind of difference between knowing and implementing, and how to begin to bridge that gap from knowing what you should do and how to put together a great outfit and what would work, for this situation, or what you might need to add to your wardrobe, and actually implementing the things that are going to result in you feeling like you have elevated your style and you love how you look and feel when you get dressed. So I just want to give like a little example of this idea of what to do, but you're not doing it, because it doesn't have to be a strategy or a difficult technique for getting dressed. It doesn't have to be something complex that is a hack or a contrived, intricate way of putting together an outfit. It can be something super simple that you intellectually know, but you are not actually implementing. So let's use the example of wearing jewelry. You want to wear necklaces more often, and you have some really great necklaces, but they are all tangled. There is a pile of 6 or 7 necklaces that you actually really like, or at least you like 3 or 4 of them, and you'd love to be able to wear them. They are a tangled mess, and they are somewhere in your top drawer or somewhere in a shoebox in your closet. And in the morning when you're feeling inspired and you've seen another Pinterest post or you've read another article in Women's Wear Daily or wherever about necklaces and layering necklaces, and you're feeling super inspired and you want to try this, and you go dig out your pile, your messy tangle of necklaces, and you can't get a couple free to wear the ones that you would like to wear. And so you give up and you put the pile back and you think, well, I'll handle that after work. And then you go to work and then you get home from work and your brain is thinking, please don't let her remember the necklaces. I do not want to untangle necklaces right now. Please don't let her remember the necklaces. And maybe as you get undressed, you do remember the necklaces and it's kind of dark in your bedroom. You don't have the best lighting in there. So you pull out the pile of necklaces, but there's not any chance that you're going to get them untangled. And a pin, a safety pin or a straight pin, works really well to kind of get into some of the loops if they're chains and begin to loosen the knots. I know this from anthropology because often we would get necklaces in that would have slipped in the transport and they would be tangled. And so then a pin usually was the thing I would use. And I like to detangle necklaces, but I like to do it when I'm not trying to make sure that I can wear those necklaces to leave my house and I have maybe a little bit of a time crunch or other things happening that are more important. So this idea that you want to wear more necklaces and you're inspired and you have all the information about how to layer them and you might even own the pieces, then falls apart because this pile of tangled necklaces isn't allowing you to implement the information that you have, which is currently on trend. It's to wear multiple necklaces together. And I even have those necklaces and I know how to do that, but I'm not implementing it. And the barrier in this case is the tangle. Like you've got this mess of tangled necklaces, you know what to do, and you could implement it if you could untangle the necklaces. So I mention that because I want to make sure you understand this is not a matter of knowing more techniques or understanding how to build the most up-to-date, current fabulous combination of outfits with hacks of how to button your shirts off kilter so that they look different or how to put rubber bands on your sleeves so that they stay up. Because I'm not a hack person. You might notice I don't think I have a single video that has the word hack in it, as far as a title, because that's too complex for me. I don't want to have to hack things. My point in this is that it could be as simple as your necklaces are tangled. You know how to wear the new necklaces. You've gotten the inspiration. You have the knowledge, but you're not implementing putting the necklaces around your neck because the obstacle in this case, the stuckness comes from literally the necklaces are stuck together and you can't wear them. So if your brain wants you to stay safe and even untangling the necklaces somehow feels unsafe to your brain because you're going to try something new, you're going to wear multiple necklaces at the same time, and that's new and therefore risky to your brain is usually sabotaging you whenever you decide it's time to undo the necklaces because your brain doesn't want you to wear the new necklaces in a new way because you could be laughed at or, something could happen that would prove to your brain that you shouldn't have stretched. You shouldn't have tried to get unstuck in this area. So I'm going to run through kind of 5 quick ways to help you get unstuck with your style, specifically related to taking the information you have and implementing it. So I would start with really getting clear on what's the problem and what information, what knowledge do you already have about how to solve that problem. Play the game in your mind of, if this were my sister or my friend, or it was my job and I had to come up with an answer, if I'm being my own stylist, what is the answer to this problem? Identify what the problem is as number 1. I'm kind of mushing 1 and 2 together. Identify the problem, and then as number 2, really tap into your knowledge, your database of answers, and get clear on what could I try? If I were brave enough, if I were ready to get unstuck, if I were ready to let go of this stuckness and use the knowledge I already have to implement the change, to actually be living in the transformation, what needs to happen? What do I actually need to do? And oftentimes, I will just interject, oftentimes this is the hang up. We have grown really accustomed to the drama. It is much more fun to continue to tell the story of, I cannot find any pants that fit, because usually you can find a friend or a family member or a salesperson to commiserate with you. Misery loves company. You can find someone else to also say, you have trouble with pants. I can't find any bras that fit. Isn't it terrible? There used to be so many options. Now there are none, or now there are too many options and I can't find what I want. If you keep telling the same story, which is whatever your story is, I'm using the example of pants that don't fit. That's one I hear often, but I also hear tops that don't fit. I hear sweaters that don't itch. I hear there's no good shopping in my area. I hear my thrift stores are terrible. I can't find anything secondhand. I can't find any sustainable pieces. Whatever it is that is your stuckness, that is your struggle, Entertain the idea that your brain might like, in addition to keeping you safe, your brain might thrive on retelling this story. You've gotten really comfortable in the idea of, I can't have great style because I can't find any pants that fit. And this is also a perfectionist tendency. I mention it here often. It's one of the ones that's nearest and dearest to my heart, protecting your potential. I can't fail at great style because I can't find any pants that fit. If I could find pants that fit, all of the obstacles would be removed. And then if I still don't have great style once I have pants that fit, then what? Then I'm just a total failure. It's completely hopeless. So we hold on to the idea that I can't find any pants that fit. And again, I'm using pants that fit as an example. It could be whatever the thing is that you're not finding or not good with, you're stuck around. If that stuckness gets resolved, if you wiggle that loose and the stuckness ceases to exist, then you're left with, well, what if I still don't have style? Or what if there's actually another problem hiding underneath the fact that I can't find pants? Now I found pants, but they need to be shortened and I can't find a tailor. We love to stay stuck. As humans, it's just one of those things that our brain thrives on because of all the reasons I mentioned. So entertain the idea that your story and the way you're telling it and your commitment to it is part of the problem, likely. So once you identify the problem and you look at all the knowledge, you look at the bank of information that you already have and you get clear on how you could begin to solve the problem, then you're going to craft a plan and you're going to actually implement that plan. And this is where clients usually tell me, okay, but I don't have time right now. This month is too busy. There's no way I could start that now. Or, okay, well, I'll start that once I lose the weight, or I'll start that once something. I would invite you to start immediately. Like truly after you turn off this video, or even while I'm still talking to you, you walk into your closet and look at one tiny low-hanging fruit way that you could begin to implement the change that you desire. You could begin to implement some of the knowledge that you have so that the stuckness starts to erode and starts to shift into a space where it doesn't feel stuck anymore. It's not an obstacle for you anymore. You have taken the knowledge and moved over to the implementation side by doing something new. So craft a plan, however small, whatever the teeny tiniest first step you can make is to begin to implement something different. Let's say your stuckness is you're going to be someone who has more style and who looks more put together, but you're just not taking action. You can probably list a dozen or more ways that you could look more put together, but you're just not taking action. So I challenge you and I urge you to take one small action, because what this does is it begins as a teeny tiny seed of style self-trust and it grows from there. Collecting knowledge is just a tiny, tiny bit of growing style self-trust, and it really is less important than implementing. If you never looked at Pinterest and you never looked at a magazine and you never looked for inspiration and you just kept trying new things and beginning to implement things that were a little different than what you've been doing on repeat, your style self-trust would grow and your style would likely get better. Doesn't mean you would never seek inspiration or that I don't believe inspiration and information and knowledge are important when it comes to style. It just means that they are not the most important thing. And if you were only going to do one thing, I would say wear the belt today, or go find a pair of jeans that fit. Do the one thing that you've been avoiding that's been keeping you stuck, even if it feels really uncomfortable and you can feel it flaring up that, oh, but if I do that, what if I mess it up? What if I buy the wrong belt? What if I buy the wrong jeans? Then it's all hopeless. I might as well just keep staying stuck in the fact that I don't have the jeans or I don't have the belt. I promise you, it is better to begin to take some sort of action, to begin to implement the information that you have and the knowledge that you've accumulated over the years. Because as you do that, you learn more with every single new thing that you try, even if it doesn't require any purchasing. Like even if you're not going to buy a single thing and you're just using what's in your wardrobe and starting to wear it in new ways, implementing the style upgrades and the ways to elevate your outfits that you already know how to do, but you haven't been doing, craft a plan and begin to take action. Do those easy wins. Do the things that are actually not all that difficult, because not only are they easier to do because they don't require a whole lot of mental drama, you're not going to get quite as flared up about them because they're a little bit gentler, and your brain likes it better. Like not only does your thinking mind, but your sort of subconscious mind likes it better. Also, It likes the fact that you're not going too far out on a limb and wearing all new things together. You might just have added a belt. You might just have finally untangled those necklaces to see what really is in that mess. You might just decide to wear a bright colored pair of socks. You might just decide to polish the shoes that you actually have loved for a long time, but they're looking pretty ratty. And you know if you polish them, you'd be able to wear them more and you would love the way you looked and felt in them, but you haven't done that. Go with something that is a relatively easy win, because those easy wins begin to build on each other, and that is where the transformation happens. The implementing can be very small. It can be very small all the way through. You can just implement tiny little things repeatedly, and you will ultimately grow your self-trust to a place where it's easy to get dressed and you love how you look and feel in your clothes. And then this last thing is probably the most important, and that is to normalize it. And I really didn't understand this piece of the equation, like how important this component was, until I started to see it at work in my own life. And I started to explore how the areas where I feel stuck, I just stayed stuck. And part of the reason I stayed stuck, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, has to do with the story that we tell. If the story that we tell is, I just am someone who doesn't have style, or I can't ever find pants that fit, or I really look terrible in all colors, so I always wear black. Whatever the story is that we are telling ourselves on repeat, and possibly telling others on repeat, that has become normal for us. That story is normal. It's normal that we don't have a style we love. It's normal that we feel stuck when it's time to get dressed. What needs to happen in order to go from that knowledge to that implementation stage, where we begin to grow that style self-trust, and you actually feel like you're gaining something, you are seeing some traction so that it doesn't feel so scary and overwhelming and hopeless, is to make it normal. And this is another kind of one of those things where it seems, it's sort of, like that idea of fake it till you make it. It seems kind of ridiculous. And yet, if you have ever tried that in any area of your life, it often works better than we think it's going to. This idea of normalizing the new behavior, whatever you're trying to implement, normalizing that really goes a long way towards lasting change. So in the example of wearing a belt, let's say you know that you would look more put together. Your knowledge, your information that you've collected says, I would look more put together if I wore a belt with my jeans and my front tuck top. But I don't ever wear belts. I have a couple belts, but I don't ever wear them. And the one day that you decide, okay, I'm going to do what Kristen said, and I'm going to take a baby step, and the low-hanging fruit is to put the belt on, and I wear the belt, and then I feel like, who am I in this belt? And it feels maybe a little uncomfortable physically. It might feel a little uncomfortable, emotionally, to look at yourself in the mirror wearing this belt. And then at the end of the day, you just take the belt off and you remind yourself, in many ways, I am not a belt wearer. Oh my gosh, that was such a strange experiment. I'm never wearing a belt again. And that just perpetuates the idea that you can't look put together because you're not wearing belts. Maybe you need a different belt. Maybe the belt you have just really isn't comfortable. It might be too wide. It might be not the right size. It might be too heavy. Maybe it's not the right color to go with your shoes, or it doesn't have a buckle that you love. It might be that you need a different belt. It also might be that you just need to normalize wearing a belt. And so how you do that is to really tell your brain that it's normal. So at the end of the day, when you've worn the belt and it has felt anything but normal, you recognize that, actually, okay, I wore the belt. It felt really weird, but I wore the belt. And then the next day you wear a belt again. And then the next day you wear a belt again. And then the next day you wear a belt again. And as you keep wearing the belt, you begin to normalize, I'm someone who wears belts now. I'm someone who wears belts now. And then the day that you forget to put the belt on, or you just decide, I don't feel like wearing a belt today, and you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror that day you make it abnormal that you are not wearing a belt. You look at yourself without the belt and you think, wait a minute, I'm someone who wears belts now. I didn't wear a belt today. That's interesting. You don't beat yourself up and say you're such a loser because you were supposed to wear belts every day this week. You were going to do what Kristen said, the challenge she said, to wear a belt every day. You were going to do that. And now it's only Thursday and you've already forgotten to wear the belt. See, you're not a belt wearer. That perpetuates the story that you've been telling yourself that's keeping you stuck. If instead, the day that you forget to wear the belt or decide not to wear the belt, you remind yourself that that's abnormal. Wait, I'm someone who wears belts now. It's weird that I didn't wear a belt today. The next day, wear a belt and remind yourself, that's right, I'm a belt wearer. I now wear belts and I feel so much more put together. You decide what the story is. If you have ever had trouble keeping plants alive, and have wanted to keep plants alive, more readily and not have plants, have a problem in your care. Part of changing that is telling yourself that you're someone who keeps plants alive, because in doing that, we step up to the new version of us. Our brain says, okay, now she's someone who keeps plants alive, so we better make sure we remind her to go water the plant. We better make sure we remind her to stop and get the plant food or a new watering can or a bigger pot, because that plant is going to die if she doesn't repot it. And she's someone who now keeps plants alive. We're retraining our brains so that the stuck thoughts are no longer the only option. We're showing our brain that this new thought is what we want to be the new normal. We're getting out of that groove that has been, the constant for so long, because scientists have realized that we have the neuroplasticity to change our thoughts. So if you've never been a belt wearer, but you believe that by wearing a belt you will look more put together, you merely need to assure your brain that now you're a belt wearer. It's totally normal that you wear a belt every day. If you don't wear a belt one day, it's not, oh, that's right, I don't wear belts, I'm such a loser, I forgot my belt. It's that you make it abnormal that you forgot. Oh, wow, that plant looks like it's dying. I'm someone who keeps plants alive. That's weird. I wonder how I forgot to water that. You're retraining your brain that it's more normal for you to wear a belt than to not wear a belt. So you want to pay attention and act surprised when the old habit happens again. Oh, that's weird. I was just thinking I can't find pants, but I now believe that I can find pants. So it's weird for me to go shopping and think, of course I'm not going to find pants, because I now do find pants. You don't act surprised when you forget to wear the belt, because you are building the identity of being someone who is a belt wearer. And again, these are just examples that I'm using to make a point. I don't care whether you wear a belt or not. I happen to like wearing a belt. I like the way it pulls an outfit together. Lots of women are super stylish without wearing belts. I'm just using that as the example of whatever the thing is that is keeping you stuck, even though you have the information you need to make the change, you just haven't implemented it. That implementation process goes more smoothly if you can assure your brain that this new pattern, this new habit that you're creating is the new normal. This is the new version of me. I wear belts. If you've seen The Bear, and I don't want to give too much away, I'm just going to say a sentence or two. If you haven't seen The Bear, it is incredible, and I do suggest that you watch it. In The Bear, there is, I believe it's in the second season, there is a situation where one of the characters makes a profound change to the way they operate. And basically they make this profound change by gathering some information, but then by implementing some new practices. And one day they show up at the restaurant and just very matter-of-factly announce that they do something new now. And I'm not going to give it away, but that there is one specific change that they have made, and everyone keeps commenting on the fact that this is different, and they just matter-of-factly say, I do this now. And it's a classic example of they have the knowledge of what would need to change in order to be different. And now they're implementing it. And as they're implementing it, even if it doesn't feel super comfortable and super routine yet, they are telling their brain a new story. I do this now. I wear belts now. I have no trouble shopping for pants now. And it is a little bit of that act, believe it before you can see it, but we pull in what we want. Our energy attracts like energy. So if your energy is constantly saying in your brain, I can't ever find pants that fit, you're never going to find pants that fit. It sounds ridiculous, but it is actually the way it works. We are magnets. So believe that you're going to find the pants that fit, and you will begin to find the pants that fit. Announce that the change has already happened, and it would be abnormal or surprising for you not to find pants that fit. That's what I got for you today. This idea of accumulating knowledge and not taking action, as I have said, it really hits home for me, because there are still areas I do this. I try to be really mindful and aware of it, and change the behavior, kind of make different choices and normalize the change as quickly as I notice that I'm, doing the old behavior. But it is truly magic once you begin to pay attention to how your story is affecting things, and gathering more information without taking any action and without beginning to grow that style self-trust doesn't ever lead to the result you want. And it might lead to the result you want for a week or two while you're challenging yourself to do something else. But if while you're doing that, you're still telling yourself the old story and you're perpetuating that version of yourself, that identity, in the long run, you're just going to, as perfectionists call it, you're going to fall off the wagon. You're going to go back to the old behavior, because Of course I don't wear belts and look put together, because you haven't normalized the version of you who wears belts and looks put together, and makes it surprising if you don't wear a belt and look and feel put together with the pieces that you know how to do. I hope that's helpful. I would love to know where this shows up in your style. How, what thing you're now thinking, oh man, that's an area where I'm stuck and I know exactly how to fix it and I'm not implementing it. And I'm telling myself this story on repeat. And if I would begin to tweak the story and normalize the new story, I can imagine that something might change. Or I really don't think this is going to work, but I'm going to try the experiment that Kristen mentions, and see if I can normalize a new story and see what happens. I would love to know. I love having the details and hearing the feedback of how, what I talk about works for you in real life. Please feel free to share. I am over on Instagram at Kristen Cain Style over there also. I do a live Q&A every week. I post a question box on Sunday, so you can come on over and answer in the question box, or you can just shoot me a DM and I will answer your question. I usually do that on Tuesdays, Mondays or Tuesdays. It kind of depends on the week. And I'll be back next Friday with another video. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, style therapy is how we do that. It is a transformation for your closet and for your mind. It's a really beautiful thing, and I would love to work with you. There is a link in my bio to book a consult. That's where we start, and we can go from there. Thank you so much. I hope you have a really beautiful week, and I'll see you next Friday.